24th ranked Miami Hurricanes win 84-77 over LaSalle to improve to 8-2 on the season. They bounced back from that 27-point loss to Colorado. And Jim Larrañaga said in his post-game comments on the TV broadcast where he felt like they just he was happy they got the win just to get past that debacle at the Barclays Center against Colorado. And I think he's right. I think it was good that this team, got back to positive ways in terms of offensively. I thought defensively they showed some improvements throughout the game. Not a complete effort defensively. There's certainly some lapses there in the second half as Miami goes up by 18, and then it gets back down to 4. And then the big shot of the game, both coaches, also Wooga talked about it. Wooga hits a 3 in the corner there after a timeout. That's 4 points, and that puts it back up to 7. And then Miami's really kind of able to stay out in front there from there. So good to see Miami kind of respond and didn't allow anything to really get worse, or they didn't lose the lead. And again, it got down to 4, and certainly they could be better in certain areas. The 3 key areas Miami wants to be better at, Jim Larrañaga spoke about it all the time this week in his interview sessions: defense, rebounding, and turnovers. And I thought defensively, they did a pretty good job. I thought they came out. I thought they certainly had a conscious effort to be better defensively. And the big thing defensively, and I asked Coach after the game where he feels like they can be better at, because they're not just going to be this big team and they really block a lot of shots or really contest a lot of shots inside the paint. But he thought the pressure-wise, he feels like on the ball, defending their man, and also being better help side. So those would be the 2 key areas to watch for. And I thought there were times during the game they did do a good job of that. I thought ball pressure, I thought Bensley Joseph certainly did a good job throughout the game defending Brickus, who he finished with 8 points, but just wasn't even getting shot attempts early on in the game. And I thought he was the key for LaSalle to have a good game, and Bensley did a good job there. And just the other guys need to be better, and that's what Coach said in terms of ball pressure. They're allowing to get their opponents. I saw tonight too, 11 3-pointers by LaSalle, and even though they missed their first 7 attempts, which during those attempts, I thought Miami did a good job showing pressure there. So there were lapses at times which allowed LaSalle to get back into it, but defensively there were also some positive signs. I thought defensive rebounding was great, only allowed 7 offensive boards, which was the second lowest they've allowed this season. They won the rebounding battle by a huge amount, so that was good to see, as rebounding is an issue. And I thought they did a good job taking their stops, whether it was off turnovers, and LaSalle didn't have very many turnovers, but getting those turnovers or defensive rebounds and then pushing the ball up court. Matthew Cleveland did an excellent job of that. I thought that was great. Matt's got to rebound more, and he did a good job rebounding the ball today, but also grabbing the board and getting the ball up court with some pace. He had a couple left-handed layup attempts. He made one, and then when he had that third one, he actually did a slight Euro step and goes to his right and finishes there. And I think that's something he can provide. Just that aggressiveness from the 4 spot. Not many guys can grab a defensive rebound, push the ball up floor, and then also finish on his own. I thought those were some good. So essentially that one-man fast break style. And fast break points were something that Miami excelled in tonight. Today, 17 points to 3 by LaSalle. So I thought those were some positives for the Hurricanes. And then the other third area where I thought Miami certainly showed improvements is turnovers. They only had 10. They had 17 assists. And it might not seem like a lot, but it's only the 5th time this season, half the games where they've had more assists than turnovers. And then the 1.7 assist to turnover ratio was the second highest they've had this season. I thought they did a good job. I've talked about it. I was at practice yesterday and noticed the drill that Coach was talking about, how, look, they just want guys to 2 dribbles and either shoot the ball or pass it off to your teammate. And I was watching, particularly in the first half, to see if that was going to translate that mentality, that philosophy. And certainly I felt like I saw that. And when you're in a game, you're not counting your dribbles. But the point is, you're just trying to make sure that you're not holding the ball too much or dribbling it too much, as if that is a point of emphasis. And I thought particularly Wooga Poplar excelled in that. He finished with 25 points. I thought he was very efficient, 9 of 16 from the floor. Could have had an extra couple buckets. He missed a dunk, which was really impressive right over here. And then, he missed a layup where he got twisted in the air where he could have made that. So, but only 2 turnovers, as having a career high 6 last game. So I thought that was good by him to really cut down on that and really keep his team offensively in some good half-court sets, whether it was he finishing with some nice buckets or his teammates. And I thought that was good. Just an excellent game, career high 25 points for Wooga, who had been held under his scoring average the last 3 games. And you just don't want games like that to continue into long stretches. So I thought Wugo was very good today, which was very impressive. A couple other guys also had impressive games. Norchad Omier, the 23 points, which was great to see out of him. Nigel Pack, the 11 points. He didn't have a ton of three-point attempts, but he had 7 assists, so he was certainly looking for his teammates. AJ Casey, a guy off the bench. We didn't see Michael Nwako off the bench today. For the first time this season, AJ Casey actually handled the big minutes, whether it was at the 4 or the 5, responds with 11 minutes, has 7 rebounds, only the 2 points, a couple free throws, but coach was very complimentary of AJ's defensive rebounding, or his rebounding in total, as he had 4 on defensive side and then 3 offensive. I just thought that was a really good performance by AJ, and I think that's what you hope to see from the guys off the bench, is guys really excelling in their roles, which coach talked about after the game, because they're not just going to get a bunch of minutes and they have a lot of opportunities, and that's fine, but just being really successful and really provide the team with some positive play, like we saw from AJ tonight. Keyshawn makes a couple buckets, so I just think it's going to be something to continue to watch for. But you're not going to get one of those huge, outbursts. I don't think off the bench. Maybe a game or two. I think Keyshawn certainly has that potential. And if you're curious about maybe some bench minutes, it's very similar to what Miami did last year in terms of the percentage of bench minutes compared to their starters. So they're playing the bench essentially just about the same as they did a year ago. And last year is similar. They got some steady play, sometimes some positive moments out of their bench, but it wasn't overwhelming where you have a guy that's going to score a bunch of points off the bench. So overall, just a positive outcome for Miami. Again, when you have tough losses like before, you want to see a bounce back effort and not get upset or let one loss essentially become 2 or 3 or anything like that. And Miami's done a good job in recent years. They've won 17 of their last 18 games coming off a loss, and tonight was just a good performance in that sense. So they've got Stonehill up next, December 21st. That's going to be an interesting game. I've seen Stonehill play, actually. They played a 3-2 zone defense against Kentucky, the game I watched. So if they're still going to be running that, I know coach is going to be having these guys work on zone defense, because they'll be expected to see that, as Stonehill was trying to do some matchup things there. And I just think that's going to be something that they'll have to work on. And they're not going to get it. They haven't seen a lot of zone this year. So regardless of the quality of opponent in Stonehill, Miami certainly is going to be heavy favorites. But just seeing how they kind of move about it and kind of navigate going up against a zone, because you don't want zones or anything, whether it be press or any type of tricky defense, really throw you off, because other teams are going to see that, especially in ACC play, and maybe they will use that against Miami, even if they haven't used that defense throughout the earlier in the season. So it'll be important to watch for that game. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be out here. Got some other things planned, but definitely stay tuned to that and more comments on the team and how they're doing. But definitely drop below. Let me know what you think. What do you think of today? Are you still concerned about this team? Was it a good bounce back? Did you like what you saw from some guys? As LaSalle had a good team coming in at 8-2, they showed certainly some signs, but we'll see. Definitely thanks for watching. Hopefully you have a good holiday season, and take care.